Here on the field, from up close, just watching Coach Vance Joseph. From here, you watch him now on the screen. This diversity in his background is helping him a lot tonight. Quarterback at Colorado, defensive back in the NFL, and here he is, having the time of his life.
VJ is having the time of his life, and will that continue as he's back in Denver? What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Coffee Break, presented by Bath Fitter. D-Mac, Rachel Veal hanging out with you with, breaking news. Vance Joseph returned to the Broncos as a defensive coordinator. D-Mac, I'm excited to get your opinion on this because there's been a lot of drama kind of rolling up into this. But first, let's just start. Do you love it? Do you hate
it? No, I like it. I think he was the most qualified candidate. First of all, he's the most qualified candidate. Let's just start there because he was just doing this job. And I do think working in the present matters. So he was just doing this job as a defense coordinator and been doing it for 4 years. Yes, Rachel.
But he didn't do it very well considering how the Cardinals looked last season.
But he look beyond that. Look in the past. He's been doing it for 4 years. And yeah, last year wasn't great. It wasn't great for their entire organization. They were without Kyler Murray for good chunks. They fired their head coach. They moved on from VJ, their defensive coordinator, and they've replaced that staff with a bunch of young guys, first-time guys. They're on a different path. But if you look at what the Cardinals were doing previously, they were very competitive, especially defensively.
Isn't that exactly what the Broncos are doing? Like, that's exactly how the Broncos were last year. And I know they're bringing in a lot of veterans now and the coaching staff and et cetera, but isn't it kind of the same exact thing?
Listen, Rachel, when you have a bad coaching staff with a bad quarterback, most teams are going to go down the same bad path. There's not a lot you can do without it. Everybody just assumes, fire Hackett, everything will be fine. Nobody thinks about I guess we can actually do this math now because we have it on record from Sean Payton how many assistant coaches he's hiring. Nobody thinks about the 21 assistant coaches, and then there's assistants to those assistants. So there's 21 coordinators / assistant coaches that need to be put on a staff. Rachel, nobody ever thinks about that. Everybody just always assume, it's Hackett, but we're such a great team. Certainly Evero, who is great, our defensive coordinator, of course he's going to stay because he's not going to have any better. He's with the Panthers? How did that happen?
Weird.
Nobody ever considers that. They just say, it's all Hackett's fault. Forget it. Well, there's a reason other coaches hired Evero quickly. Justin Outen got hired quickly. Hackett got hired quickly. A lot of the Broncos, Hank Azani, got hired quickly. Rachel, there's a lot of coaches who had experience with the Broncos who have found other jobs like that. It's probably not as big. I go back again, the problems. Russ and his contract, George Payton injuries, coach. And now you see the problems here, Rachel. And then you have to fill those 21 spots, okay? And you really have to fill your coordinator spots first. But there's a time frame to do it, and it's quick, Rachel, because you're competing with 31 other teams to do the same thing. Because even a team with the success of the Eagles lost their offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, and they're quickly and in competition with the Broncos to hire Vance Joseph. Rachel, you don't have all day to look for the right guy. And nowhere in history has anybody ever hired, Rachel, the wrong guy on purpose. Every hire is the right guy. It's so preposterous to hear that logic of, no, it's fine with Sean Payton because I trust him because he's waiting to hire the right guy. I mean, it's absurd logic.
100%, I'm with you, which leads us perfectly into this whole mystery candidate thing, where I think that this was a load of BS, and Matt Patricia interviewing with the Broncos yesterday for the DC position, I think was just a backup plan, essentially, saying, hey, if Vance Joseph isn't going to work out or our number one guy isn't going to work out, then we can say, Patricia, it was you all along, because it doesn't make sense. They did all these interviews, and it was quiet for so long, and then Matt Patricia comes in with the conversation. I'm calling BS on the mystery candidate just because I think it was the backup plan and not so much a mystery candidate.
Well, now we're getting to a little bit of a semantics issue about the phrase mystery candidate. And I saw James have kind of the same issue with it. listen, call it what you want. Nobody knew that Matt Patricia was in the mix. I did find out there was a mystery candidate over the weekend. And the only reason they were a mystery candidate is there was somebody legitimately that was well known in the mix that had not made his way to the surface. So I would say that's a mystery. So I call it a mystery candidate. But I understand where you're coming from too. It's a really interesting question. Like, and again, Matt Patricia wasn't called on like Monday and come here on Tuesday night into Wednesday. Matt Patricia was in the mix, Rachel, at the same time they were interviewing VJ and Rex Ryan. He was, just nobody knew about it. So that's why he's the mystery candidate. Now, why it took them till Wednesday to interview him, that's a mystery. You interview VJ on Friday, Rex Ryan on Saturday, but you don't interview Matt Patricia till Wednesday? Why? I mean, what took so long? And at what point did Matt Patricia become a candidate, period? This is why this DC search was such a mess. I have zero belief that Matt Patricia was on any kind of list at the beginning of this thing. I think it was Vic Fangio. They went through Sean Desai. They looked at Brian Flores, and they really fell out of options, Rachel. I think they had to reboot the process all over again. And when they rebooted, then, okay, VJ and, brainstorm at the Super Bowl for Sean Payton about Rex Ryan. That went over like a fart in church, I'm sure, back at the ranch in Dove Valley. And somehow Matt Patricia comes into it. And I think Matt Patricia comes into it because he's a Bill Belichick who's a Parcells guy. And Sean Payton is a Parcells guy, too. So I think if you follow that tree, it leads to Patricia, who is definitely unsatisfied with his role with the Patriots last year because it was very nebulous and ill-defined. To the degree, Rachel, do not be surprised. I'm not predicting it, but don't be surprised if Matt Patricia does find his way onto the coaching staff in some other capacity. That's how bad I think it is for him in New England right now.
Oh, interesting. So you're thinking like an assistant defensive coordinator or a coach of a certain team or whatever I'm trying to
Hey, linebackers coach,
Yeah.
secondary coach, assistant, something. Obviously Sean Payton likes Matt Patricia, or this wouldn't have even happened. The other huge reason why, first of all, VJ is the most qualified and most recently qualified, okay? Let's just start there. Second, the Rooney Rule. The best part of the Rooney Rule, Rachel, in my opinion, is the fact that if a coordinator who is a minority or a female's qualified too, and wouldn't that be something? I'm all for it. If a female or minority has a coordinator position for 2 years with the team and they get a head coaching job, the team that loses that person gets 2 third-round picks.
Yeah.
This is terrific because it's a shameful history of hiring minority and women head coaches. Women have never had a shot, and the minority hirings have been pathetic over the years because it is almost impossible to get a head coaching job without being a coordinator. So they have incentivized teams to get the most qualified minority or female candidate in the house. And again, this is where VJ out is just a better candidate, period. First of all, he's the most qualified and he has the most upside. And Rachel, why would you hire a coordinator who doesn't have the potential to be a head coach? You wouldn't do it. Theoretically, if you're really doing things right, you're hiring one coordinator after another who is going to ascend to be a head coach. You don't want somebody there who's just, doing the dishes and is happy just, hanging out doing nothing. You want somebody who's going to ascend.
It was semi-disastrous in Miami for VJ. The Broncos, he's already been a head coach and it didn't work. So that's where I'm like, oh, this isn't good. Yeah. Okay. So here we go. Miami, DC didn't work. Denver head coach didn't work. Arizona, DC didn't work. Like, that's just where I'm like, we're just trying to replay old things and what's the point? Like, we already know that he wasn't a good head coach. We already know that he hasn't been a great defensive coordinator in years past. So like, what makes us think that this is going to be different? It's not like the Broncos are absolutely stacked on defense and you don't really need a defensive coordinator because they're all running it. Like, that's where I'm just a little confused on this whole situation. But I also think it has a little bit to do with they were running out of options, like you said, because this took so freaking long to do.
Yeah, one of the weirder things about hiring the right guy is thinking you have an infinite amount of time to do so. And one of the weird expressions is, training camp doesn't start for months. The combine is next week. You have to make a decision on on tagging players like Draymond Jones in the next few days. You need a defensive, if you're going to have a real defensive coordinator, somebody who's really in charge, that person needs to have say and to sign off on some big time decisions. Okay. So there was a huge sense of urgency, Rachel, to get this done. You were behind the path. The only team that did not have a defensive coordinator in position was the Eagles. Mm-hmm. The Colts have Gus Bradley. Mike Evans missed out on this completely this morning. I'm not surprised he missed out on this detail. Right now, Gus Bradley is the defensive coordinator with the Colts. He just is a leftover. We'll see if Shane Steichen holds on to him or not. But he is in place. He hasn't left. He hasn't asked to leave like Evero asked to leave the Broncos. So the only team that really doesn't have a DC or coordinators, Rachel, is the Eagles. Rachel, the Eagles just were in the Super Bowl. And they lost their two coordinators, Gannon and Steichen, to head coaching positions. Yep. Of course, the Broncos, fired your head coach with 2 weeks left in the season. I mean, you had like a 2-month head start on the Eagles, and you were running neck and neck to hire VJ. Yep. No, I mean, in terms of the time frame, the Broncos were bringing up the rear on this, Rachel. They weren't setting the pace, waiting for the right guy. They were lucky. I'm telling you, they were lucky VJ was available, and they were lucky VJ really did want to come back to Colorado. He loves Colorado. His wife and kids love Colorado. They still have a house in Colorado. Rachel, he wanted to be here in Colorado. Oh, he's a CU guy, and of course, he had a bad 2-year run as a head coach. But look at how messed up things were under John Elway at that time. And Elway was hiring assistant coaches left and right that VJ didn't even know. VJ was the head coach, and they hired Mike McCoy to be the offense coordinator, and I like McCoy. But VJ didn't even know McCoy. And, of course, that was a disaster. So when you look back on things, you should look back on VJ much more favorably. Things were worse with Vic Fangio and, of course, worse with Nathaniel Hackett. It really doesn't look that bad on VJ when you look back on it.
I feel like that's up for discussion. Anyways, we do always have opinions from some of our hosts. Zach Bai says the results will ultimately dictate my view on Vance Joseph Part 2, but forgive me for my lack of excitement in this moment. VJ wasn't a good DC in Miami, was an absolute dumpster fire in Denver, and flamed out with the 31st ranked points per game defense in Arizona. I'll have an open mind, but ... And James Marilat says the Broncos just hired the guy who led the NFL's second most porous defense last season. Yippee! Yippee, D-Mac!
Yeah, listen, I understand where these guys are coming from. I laugh at the nothing to see here crowd that just wants to blindly follow and approve of everything Sean Payton does.
Okay, let's talk about this for a quick second, because
Sure.
I do believe a lot of people are just like, all hail Sean Payton. Really, what has Sean Payton done in the last 5 years that you've been like, yes, that's going to win a championship?
Well, I mean, he did nothing last year. He took the year off and made a lot of money and had a cushy TV gig, and apparently was an employee for Zebra Technologies, as we found out during the Super Bowl when he was working for Zebra Technologies more so than he was working for the Denver Broncos. You know, if you pay, listen, here's my deal, Rachel. If there's an employer who pays me $18 million a year, you know what I'm doing with everybody else I work with? I'm quitting. I will tell anybody out there who wants to pay me, D-Mac, $18 million a year, I am instantly quitting everything else.
Everything.
Sorry. Can't make it, Fox. Sorry, Zebra Technologies. Can't do the Pat McAfee podcast. Somebody else is going to have to rep your, bar scanning system. I mean, that's literally what he was doing, Rachel. So when you wonder about like, hey, how focused, how is this process going? Just understand, before Sean Payton was officially official, before he's officially signed, Greg Penner was playing golf. And during a week when all the other coaches were looking for coordinators, Sean Payton had 2 jobs that he was working on at the Super Bowl, Zebra Technologies and Fox TV. So why did this get backed up, or why was it a little unfocused? I wonder why, Rachel. Now, is it the end of days? No, Rachel, of course it's not the end of days. But when Sean Payton has the time and the desire to clap back on a muggle who has an opinion about how the coaching search is going, it's another weird one. Why do you care? Again, let me remind everybody. He makes $18 million a year. After I quit all my other jobs, you know what I'm going to do if I make $18 million a year? I'm going to delete all my social media accounts. Bye-bye. See you later. I'm going to become the world's greatest book reader. I'll take up a hobby. I'll be great at darts. I don't know. I'll spend more time with my wife. Who knows what I'm going to do? But I'm certainly not going to be trolling muggles looking for clapbacks. I mean, it's like one of the most perplexing, and the credit he's getting is amazing. And then it's being reinforced not only by the Broncos social media team, but by the Broncos reporter, which is weird when you work for the team and you eat with the coaches that you're still a reporter and you get to clap back on real reporters. Okay, let's think about that one for a second.
I think it's a really bad look. But I think it's a worse look for the team account and for the team reporters, less than it is Sean Payton. Here's why. You are connected to the team account and to the reporters, correct? That is just the Denver Broncos brand. And I know Sean Payton is also the Denver Broncos brand, but let's be honest, Sean Payton is his own brand. And that's the difference, where Sean Payton is completely you can take the Broncos away from Sean Payton and people are still going to know who Sean Payton is. When you are working for that team, really no one's going to know who you are except for being connected to that team. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing you do in that situation, which is a really slippery slope, is reinforce to the Broncos fan base that the media is not trustworthy and you should have doubts about them.
Which
is making the media...
Sorry, I did not mean to cut you off. It's so funny, though, because we know how much comes out of that building to go to reporters that obviously aren't just team reporters. We know Peter Schrager, I guarantee, found out from probably Sean Payton, because I'm assuming they're good friends, and I bet Peter Schrager is going to break a lot of Broncos news this upcoming year. So it's so funny that, we get this negative insight from the outside reporters, but...
Oh, yeah, and let's the reporter, the commentator is Eric Goodman from Mile High Sports, and I've heard this vibe. What's that?
He had a fair point.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he had the information he had with what was given out, and the clapback from Sean Payton was, we've hired 16, there's 5 to go. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, okay, so now we have an official report? Now we're officially reporting news, coach? Oh, I got it wrong based on the information out there. Hey, Sean, there is some wacky reason why you had Matt Patricia in 5 days after Vance Joseph. Why didn't you just hire Vance Joseph? Why did you even need to go through with the charade of Rex Ryan and Matt Patricia? Yeah. I mean, the only thing I can think is Sean Payton really didn't want VJ. If Sean Payton really wanted VJ and he was the right guy, why the hell were you talking to 2 dudes, Rex Ryan and Matt Patricia, who nobody's been talking to?
I know.
Nobody. And they have no upside. Neither of them. None. I mean, what are you doing? Having VJ in on Friday night, it should have been over. I mean, if you had him in, period, there's all sorts of reasons why you should have gone out to dinner Friday night and we should have been having a press conference or whatever on Saturday. This is, again, where I think my opinion is there was an adult in the room about the hiring of VJ, and it really wasn't Sean Payton. I think Greg Penner or George Payton had massive influence in this final decision, and they steered Sean Payton in the right direction. I think Sean Payton has hired a bunch of guys that he wanted for whatever reason. I think they were sick, my opinion, sick of Sean Payton's options because none of them really made sense. We want to hire Vic Fangio. We want to, Rex Ryan and Matt Patricia. I mean, these are insane ideas, Rachel. Insane ideas compared to VJ. And if you don't like VJ for what he's done, okay, fine. Your other choice, Rachel, is to have a first-time defensive coordinator. Now, the laundry list of first-time DCs, Rachel, is out the door. There's a million guys you could hire to be the first-time guy, okay? Yep. No problem. To hire experienced guys, the list is short, really short. And if you're just talking about experienced guys who have the most value to you, top to bottom, VJ, whether you like what he did or not, is at the top of that list. So it's actually a really good hire if you want an experienced guy. In fact, I'd say it's the best hire you could have had if you want an experienced guy. I think it's a way better hire than having Vic Fangio back in the building. Way better. So I really like it. I just don't think it had anything to do with Sean Payton.
Interesting. Okay, so I agree with you. I think he was better than Vic Fangio just because of the history there. But we will get another opinion because Andrew Mason is in the building now. So we'll bring in Mace. Mace, how are you this morning?
I'm doing all right. Do I need to kind of zoom my phone, my computer in? Although you got Ruby here,
so, right?
Yeah. D-Mac's got the cats. I've got the dogs.
There you go. I'm just glad we can hear you today because yesterday we were on a struggle bus. So I'm just happy you're here. I know. Where are you right now? Wisconsin?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you're safe, and I hope the weather is better than it is here.
It's not. It's actually we just had a winter storm warning here, and the schools are closed. So it's actually pretty much the same as it is in Colorado, except it's a little bit warmer.
Way. We got the sun out. It's a gorgeous day. It's feels
like 4
awesome.
degrees, D-Mac.
It's awesome. I love it.
Oh, okay. So let's get back into this Vance Joseph stuff. Mace, are you a fan of this or no? Also, real quick, Mace, if you are on our YouTube page and watching us, make sure you fill out, there's a little poll. Tell us if you're excited about Vance Joseph returning, or if you're not, if you're okay with it, let us know on that poll. Go ahead, Mace.
I mean, you're not asking him to be the head coach. You're asking him to be the coordinator. I'm actually about halfway through a column right now on it. I mean, I don't think this is a home run hire, but there weren't home run hires in this pool of candidates that we were talking about for the Broncos. I think it's, if you're putting it in baseball analogies, I think it's a solid single, and hopefully you can stretch it out to a double. But it's nothing earth-shattering. But you know what? You're not asking him to be the head coach. I know that there's a little football PTSD over Vance Joseph just because of the failed stewardship here a few years ago. But there were bigger things in play beyond Vance Joseph. I think he was put into a position that he wasn't really ready for, and really on his resume wasn't fully prepared for. And then on top of that, they said, hey, this isn't a rebuild, when in fact what the organization needed most was a rebuild. So I think it's a fine hire. I would rather have had him than Rex Ryan, because I'm hesitant about Rex Ryan having been away from coaching for the last 6 seasons. The game has changed a lot in the last 6 years, and Vance Joseph has been around, and we'll see where it goes. The thing I'm most fascinated about, you two, is what kind of tactical tweaks he's going to make to this defense, because what he does and what Ejirevero does, they're not the same thing. There are going to be some changes on that side of the ball.
I got to ask Mace some questions.
Yeah.
Because Mace was taking me on. He was taking me on audio-wise, video-wise, and writing-wise. So, Mace.
Yeah.
Sean Payton took his time to make the hire, correct?
Sure.
You trust Sean Payton, correct?
Why wouldn't I?
Okay. So if you trust him and he took his time, and you're convinced he was going to do this because it's no big deal waiting, right?
Mm-hmm.
He hired, logically then, by all those other things, the right guy, right?
I mean, the right guy doesn't mean it's always an A hire or a home run hire.
You don't get to do that.
Okay, wait a second. No. What you're going with this all or not? You're going with this all or nothing, black or white, extremist crap.
You don't get to be the captain of the Nothing to See Here crew, because you're right there. You're up there with Mike Evans with the Nothing to See Here crew. You are the one with
February, for crying out loud. They're not playing a game on Sunday.
You were the one writing and talking about there's nothing to see here. We trust Sean Payton. People like me, you told me to chill out, calm down, shut up. You know, words to that extent. Not so rude, because you're not a rude guy. And I'm trying not to be rude either. But I just want to do a heat check with the Nothing to See Here crew that now that it's VJ, a villain in Broncos history of the past, somebody who is not going to sit well with the nothing to see here crowd, because all of a sudden Sean Payton, and I don't think it was Sean Payton, I think he was overruled by George Payton and Greg Penner. I think Sean Payton had virtually nothing to do with this hire. But you don't get, in my opinion, to say this wasn't anything but the right hire. Tell me why I'm wrong.
Okay, I can say it's a solid hire without saying it's a home run hire, because you know what?
Was it the right hire?
The home run hire he wanted was Vic Fangio, and Vic decided to go to Miami. So at that point, sometimes you have to go. Sometimes you have to go to your contingency plans, which is interviewing multiple candidates.
So Mace, you're reporting they made an offer to Vic Fangio when he turned it down to go to Miami.
Well, what we know from Adam Schefter's reporting is that Sean Payton wanted an all-star staff, and it would include Vic Fangio. And Fangio is now the defensive coordinator of Miami.
So
for whatever reason, Vic liked that situation better.
Are you sure that didn't get vetoed by George Payton or Greg Penner?
I am not sure. Are you sure? Are you sure?
No, I'm not
sure
either.
Speculating?
I'm not. I didn't make a claim like you did. I didn't make a claim. I know Sean Payton wanted Vic Fangio, so I'm questioning why he didn't get what he wanted.
Because Miami offers maybe a better situation, more talent on the defensive side. Miami was a playoff team last year, D-Mac.
Mm-hmm.
They're in a division that doesn't have Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert. If I were Vic Fangio, I would have chosen Miami. On top of that, I mean, you're looking out at snow. I'm looking out at snow. Vic Fangio is sitting overlooking Biscayne Bay, and it's 84 degrees. It's lovely. There are a lot of reasons why Vic Fangio would look at that and say, I'd rather go to Miami than back to Denver.
Interesting.
That's fair.
Yeah. I think it's ridiculous. I think Sean Payton came in with Vic Fangio, and George Payton and Greg Penner are like, no, that's not a good plan. We can't have this guy. We just fired him. I think, in my opinion,
fired Vance Joseph before.
George Payton fired Vic Fangio.
Okay, I'm sorry.
George Payton had nothing to do with DJ, neither did Greg Penner.
George Payton didn't really want to fire Vic Fangio, though.
He did not. Mason's right about that. He was pressured into doing that, too. Yeah, George Payton is just, I mean, oh, my God. It's, like, ridiculous. This is not going well in Bronco land, okay? I mean, this defensive coordinator search shows you there are definitely fissures beneath the surface between the guys that are running things. It's clear. Why else was Matt Patricia being interviewed 5 days after VJ? 5!
And here's the only thing I can think of is that they already knew that they were going to do VJ, and they wanted to do an interview with him and Patricia to sit down and see,
or they wanted they had settled on VJ, but VJ said, I want to go talk to Philadelphia.
That's definitely not true. That's Mace. I got it from a very good source. If VJ got a call from the Broncos in the middle of the Eagles interview, he would have accepted the Broncos job. VJ made it more than clear. Yes, that's how badly he wanted to be here. And I really trust my source on that one. Sorry, I don't mean to be rude. I don't mean to interrupt. But VJ wanted to be here badly. Badly, he wanted to be back here. Okay? So I'm happy for VJ. I like VJ. Okay? I think he got a raw deal. And I think
he did. Because they said, hey, they kept telling him it's a reboot, and what the Broncos needed was a rebuild. And oh, by the way, your quarterbacks are career backup Trevor Siemian and destined to get benched in multiple leagues, Paxton Lynch.
Yeah, it's listen, man, here's the truth. How about this one for a truth bomb? What if John Elway had done the right thing and drafted Josh Allen in 2018? Would VJ still be the coach?
That I don't know.
It's interesting, though, right?
Well, because what you might have looked at is the situation said, all right, we may just need an offensive coach here going forward in 2019.
Are you laughing at me, Rachel?
No. D-Mac couldn't see it, but Jake on the back end does a wonderful job, and he just put up that smirk of VJ when he's looking at the ref, And that great picture, that fabulous meme, he just put it up, and so I was laughing at that.
It was 1 week after the time of his life.
Listen, man, if here's the problem. When you're looking for an experienced coordinator, there are so few available, okay? There just are. They don't fall off trees. That being said, it doesn't mean there aren't great potential coordinators out there that are rising up from other positions. There's a ton of first-time defensive coordinators who were linebacker coaches or special teams guys or secondary coaches. Mace, Rachel, that happens all the time. Also, I'm not that tied into coordinators. If coordinators aren't working out, you can blow them out. I mean, the Broncos had like 3 offensive coordinators this year. I mean, it didn't work. I mean, you had Hackett, then you had Kubiak, then you had Outen, then, I mean, who knows? You know, Mace, maybe you call the player too. I really don't know. I mean, it was an unmitigated mess. But Evero was a first-time coordinator, and he was the best coach you had on the staff. And they really did want to keep him. They really did. So I think in order, it was Fangio first, and they looked at Payton like, that's not going to work. Then they just said, we want to keep Evero. Keep him somehow. And Evero, I've not known anybody who's turned down more jobs with the Denver Broncos than Ejiro Evero. That guy just did not want to be here. I mean, that's clear.
They sacked
so
his friend.
After Evero's gone and Fangio's gone, you go to Sean Desai. I thought that made a lot of sense. But he hadn't been a full-time coordinator, you know, like VJ had been. He really hadn't. He'd sort of dabbled in it, but he was a disciple of Fangio. Why didn't they just hire Sean Desai? I don't know. I have no idea why that didn't work out. And I guess it's because Sean Payton wanted experience. So when you get that far down the line and it gets that narrow, all of a sudden Rex Ryan's phone is ringing. And that's when we get into chaos. So once we got into chaos, the most reasonable place to land by a mile was VJ. Not even close. He absolutely, under the circumstances, was the right hire. But you should question how you got into those circumstances in the first place.
Because your first plan didn't work and you had to go with the backup plan.
Backup.
This is you're on. Look, I mean, in general, just figuring out, okay, if I can't have Vic Fangio, what type of coordinator would I want? That's the overall plan B. The entire process of interviews was plan B. Sometimes plan B can work. Now, one thing, you talk about experience, and I think this is entirely true. Sean Payton knows what kind of job he has on the offensive side. He knows what kind of job he has with Russell Wilson. He needed a defensive coordinator where he could just say, all right, you've got experience, just go do your thing, because I've got to focus on the offense and to a lesser degree the special teams, and that's kind of a Bill Parcells-ism that the way you can get immediate improvement from a team when you take over is to get the special teams right and improve, and certainly that's a unit in need of improvement. So Sean Payton's got enough on his plate watching over the other 2/3 of the team to where he needed a coordinator who'd done it before, and he can say, okay, go do your thing, try to do well, hope it works out, but I got to have my eyes elsewhere.
Mace, who do you think they'll hire for OC? Because we haven't even heard any name. Like, there's been nothing talked about. And I know it doesn't really matter that much because Sean Payton's going to be calling the plays. But, like, is there any name attached to this?
I mean, the name that I've heard kicked around is Ronald Curry, who was with the Saints. And he actually did interview for the Buccaneers offensive coordinator position, but didn't get it. And I could see him ending up as a non-play calling OC or maybe a pass game coordinator or something like that. I mean, it's entirely possible. We may look at a staff that doesn't have a designated OC in terms of title, but has people filling those roles, maybe a pass game coordinator, a run game coordinator, that sort of thing going on. So it may not be a traditional type of setup in terms of titles and how responsibility is divided.
Hey, Mace, 18 down, 3 to go. That's the news from Sean Payton.
Unless the two that we learned today were part of the 16 that they just weren't revealing.
Oh, damn, Mace, you could be right about that.
Yeah.
Dang, you could be right. Maybe we still are at 16-5, or maybe it's 17-4. I don't know. Sean Payton will let us know when we need to know. Ha ha ha. Up yours, media people. Yeah.
All right, this is perfect time too to go into hot water and ask Mace. Mace, do you love that the head coach of the Denver Broncos is being feisty, or do you say, "Hey, coach, let's just take a chill pill on this one and let the media do their talking and you win some games"?
You know what? He used the phrase anonymous donors at his first press conference in terms of being quiet. And I would say that that was a moment to be an anonymous donor and just not say anything. I'm very much a fan of practicing what you preach.
He is so bizarrely hypocritical based on what he said to clap back on anybody. And by the way, talk about wildly punching down. Like when I get off a coffee break, should I go over to the Aurora Penny Saver and start screaming at them about their high school coverage of Cherokee Trail? I mean, calm down, dude. Like, and how did you find that post in the first place? Were you just sitting there scrolling? Like, who's talking about me? Hey, here's one. Tip, 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 tip. Send. Greg Penner will love this.
How do we know he found it? It could have been his daughter, who is active on social media, is active in media. Maybe his daughter found it and then was like, what's up with this, Dad? And then he said something. The other interesting thing, do you both recall on the day that we learned Sean Payton was the Broncos coach, Eric Goodman had a tweet about the Broncos hiring Sean Payton or zeroing on Sean Payton that was quickly deleted. Do you guys remember that?
I do not.
Yes.
Yes. And then, of course, it broke. Who had it? Was it Adam Schefter who had it first, I believe?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I have a hard time keeping track of it. I just assume Mike Kliss knows everything first.
Yeah, I mean, there's a game that's played with these sorts of things that's I think kind of ridiculous in terms of how the scoops are doled out.
Seeing if Sean Payton follows. I don't think he does.
No, I don't think he does.
Sean Payton follows more people than I do. So
really, how many people does he follow?
Sean Payton follows 1,008.
Okay.
I follow 439.
Yeah,
hey, I just want to let Sean Payton know there's a sophomore at Smoky Hill on their digital media team for Smoky Hill Sports who is ripping him left and right. You know, he's a 15-year-old kid. His name is Jonathan. And I just want to bring it to Sean Payton's attention. You better figure out what this kid at Smoky Hill Sports is talking about online, Sean. I mean, you might. Oh, I'm just getting this. The Lakewood Times. It's a neighborhood newsletter. In the Lakewood Times in the Creek neighborhood. You won't believe they've got a lost cat, and they don't think you're very decisive about coaching hires. So you may want to look into that neighborhood newsletter.
Real quick, be honest. Have you ever Googled your name?
Yes. Googled all the time. I admit I've done it all the time. Googled.
All the time?
Have you searched it
on
Twitter?
Once a month. Once a month, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Have you searched your name on
I
Twitter?
probably have Googled my name at some point. Yeah. I cannot tell you the last time, and I officially have never searched my name on Twitter.
Okay, I have. Well, the thing is, Andrew Mason is not the most uncommon name, so I don't search for that.
Listen,
I'll search for other things connected to me. Yes, I admit I will. I have done that.
Okay.
I don't need to search out people saying how terrible I am. I mean, it comes to me pretty forward. I had a laugh yesterday. Somebody was like, "D-Mac, you can't take it. You can dish it out, but you can't take it." You got to be kidding me. I mean,
my favorite is because I'm attached to a lot of the tweets about DMAC because it's the clips we obviously put out. When people yell at you, DMAC, and then you respond, and they're like, DMAC, thanks so much for responding, or saying something like that. They're like, been a fan for a long time. I'm like, you just roasted the guy like 30 seconds ago.
I mean, if it wasn't for James Marilat, nobody on earth would be taking it more than me. So that criticism falls short, and I don't. Oh my God, I'm telling you guys. And then I love this one. You guys do the media, or you guys do this. Yeah, because we're media. Yeah. Like seriously, swear to God, if I was a football coach making $18 million a year, I would take my social media, put it in a bucket, maybe a small can, I don't know, and set it on fire. I mean, whatever you got to do to get rid of it. Listen, I don't think it's necessarily bad that the coaches are at least in touch with their players. So maybe you just, ghost things. You can set up weird little accounts where nobody knows who you are, so you can just sort of follow along. That's probably actually not a bad idea. But
I've got a
engaging on
I've got a secret account that I don't use. It can be a
Mace
burner
has
if
a
I want it to
burner?
be.
Oh, I do too.
I don't tweet on it though.
I don't
use
either.
here's the thing. I actually had an account that I used as a burner to vent things politically for a while.
Oh.
Whoa.
I'm just a lurker.
Yeah.
And real quick with me, and I want to get back to Mace and the politics. But the reason I created my burner account is because Wade Phillips blocked me, and I still to this day. And let me tell you,
I got unblocked by Wade. I think he did like a mass block of a lot of people at one point.
Yeah.
And then I went to a friend of his and said, "Why does Wade have me blocked? I've never said anything bad about the man in my life.
Well,
I love Wade. He's a great guy." And then I got unblocked.
And I've talked to him like more than a dozen times since, and I just feel awkward about asking him to unblock me. So I created the burner account because his social media was great, and I wanted to hear what he had to say. But I don't, Mace, you're braver than me. I don't put anything out of my burner account. You gotta.
I deleted everything that was from there a couple of years back the way. But for a while it was it allowed me to get some things off my chest. I made some jokes, that sort of thing. I didn't have anything that went really. I think I had one thing that I posted on there that got like 200 retweets or something like that, and that was it.
All right.
Nice. Well, people in the comments saying now Wade would have been great to bring on staff. I know Wade favorited one of Will Peterson's tweets, I think, about saying that he should come back. So that would have been something. But Mace, as always, an absolute pleasure. Thanks for letting us in on your political burner account. We appreciate it.
Oh no, good one.
Nothing to see here.
Yes.
Nothing to see here.
Hey. They have a defensive coordinator. They're going to go to the combine. They're going to have a defensive coordinator in the interviews with the defensive players they're going to talk to. It's all okay.
And Mace, for the record, he's the right guy, correct?
But I think he'll work out okay.
Wow, see, he can't say it. He can't say he's the right guy.
What? Okay. There's a theory out there that, you know how people say, oh, I ended up with the one when you get married. There's a theory out there that in this world, there are actually a bunch of people who could be the one. And so in hiring a coach, there are probably several people who could do well in that situation. I think Vance Joseph can be one of them. Me personally, as someone asked me a few days ago, I would have hired Jim Leonard, the former defensive coordinator at Wisconsin, who was their interim head coach last year, and did a couple of interviews around the league for coordinator jobs this cycle. That would have been my hire, a coach who's kind of really on his way up, but we'll see. Hopefully it'll work out.
And I would have hired, if you want an experienced coach and he was available, Vance Joseph. I think he actually is the right hire. I just don't think Sean Payton wanted to. Of course, now you'll hear how he loved him, and he just, I don't know. I can't wait to hear what the excuses are for Rex Ryan and Matt Patricia. But listen, I'll give you this. He is the right guy for a bunch of different reasons. I won't hesitate on it. You did hire the right experienced coach. It doesn't mean there wasn't somebody up and coming that would have been better. There might have been. I don't know everybody. But in terms of experienced coaches, I have no doubt. Yes, you did hire the right guy.
Okay, so then, Mace, I'm actually going to keep you one more minute, if you don't mind.
That's fine.
Let's do our prop shop then. What's the points per game allowed next season by the Broncos defense? Over, under? Let's see. 28? 21. 24.5. That's my answer. That's my final answer. I went in the middle. I don't have high hopes, so sorry.
Slightly under.
Under?
Yeah, slightly under.
It better be under, or they're going to lose a lot of games. So I'll take the under and stay optimistic.
Part of it also, though, is I think they're going to play a.
Oh. Did we lose them?
Oh, yeah.
Might have.
So close.
So close. Yeah,
So
we might have
close.
lost him. Oh, yeah, I don't know what happened right there.
Well, there's some sort of reason. He'll write all about it. You can read it at denversports.com.
Yes, we will. And of course, we appreciate Mace always hopping on with us. Okay, yeah, 24.5.
I'll say under. I'll be optimistic. I think the Broncos finished like 13th, 14th in scoring defense this year. I think that was around 21 points, something like that. So, hey, listen, if they can be in that department and Russell Wilson can be just slightly better, the Broncos have a good shot of winning 8 or 9 games.
Okay.
The biggest problem they're going to have, Rachel, actually isn't the defense. The defense is probably going to be okay. The biggest problem they're going to have is retooling the offensive line and just getting everything up to speed with their offense coordination. They also have some interesting situations at wide receiver, and you're unsettled at running back. The bigger issues on this team aren't on defense. That's why I found this process hysterical. I mean, it's actually comical because really this wasn't that big of a deal until it became apparently a huge deal. It really was nothing. I thought that, you go into an interview, Rachel, and you just have this all planned out for your coordinators. That's why you see teams relatively quickly. They don't need to, do a lengthy process because the coaches, in order to get the job in the first place, Rachel, they've already talked to who they want to hire. They already have a crew. And so to find a process going this long is highly unusual.
And he's back, just like that. Oh, no.
This is what the problems I had yesterday. This, like Mace, we love you.
Unbelievable.
Same problems I had yesterday. Rachel.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, you got a phone call or two to make.
Another nasty email to be sending. Okay, well, like Mace said, some people believe that there is the one or that there could be multiple the ones. Well, some people also believe that if you go into darkness, you can come out and decide if you want to be a quarterback for an NFL team for another year. And that is Aaron Rodgers, and we have known that he has emerged from the darkness. Now, I did a little bit of research on this, all right? He's got a bath. He's got warm water. He's got a running toilet. He's got a sink. He can open up the windows in there if he wants to. He's just paying a lot of money to sit in a dark room that can actually be 100% dark.
Yeah, here we go, Rachel. This is what he did. Okay. Now I'm Aaron Rodgers.
Contemplate if you really want to play in the NFL for another year and stay in the cold Green Bay, or if you would like to go to New York, or is it New York or New Jersey for the Jets? I always forget. New Jersey, and go play for the Jets. D-Mac?
I don't know, Rachel, but like Aaron Rodgers, I'm now in the darkness, which is code for the bathroom.
So it looked very cozy. It was not complete darkness. He could obviously turn on lights and other stuff. So it happens. Like, it's you. Sometimes you just need to sit in a room where no one can bother you or talk to you in the middle of nowhere.
Boy, now that I've sat here on the toilet, in the ayahuasca-fueled darkness, I really think I want to play for the Jets.
Oh, you hear here first. Maybe Aaron Rodgers would want to play for the Jets.
Yeah,
interesting. Where do you think he's actually going to go, D-Mac? All seriousness.
He's going to go down the toilet.
Oh, jeez.
No, he's probably going to go to some desperate team to have a terrible season. I don't know. He'll go to the Buccaneers or something, and they'll just suck.
Okay.
There you go. He goes to replace Tom Brady with the Buccaneers. There's my final guess.
Wow. Okay, I need you to go back now to your actual setup because we do have to talk about this Nuggets team. Yeah. Stephen A. Smith had a few words on Jokic, and actually.
Oh! Hi, everybody! I'm Aaron Rodgers. Oh, look at me now. I'm sorry, Rachel. What are you saying?
Stephen A. Smith speaks on Jokic, and he says to be a 3-time back-to-back at league MVP and to not have even a championship appearance, let alone a title to show for it, it's going to be glaring. Now, I do want to say I watched the entire clip, and Stephen A. Smith was very high on Jokic and everything, but he said this point specifically about how it would be glaring if he doesn't make it to a championship, to the finals, or if they don't win one. Do you agree with that statement, or is no matter what he does, is he okay? Oh, no. It's just me. So I actually do agree with Stephen A. Smith. Hopefully D-Mac comes back. He probably got a phone call. He's probably in trouble, actually, for doing what he just did. Did you get a phone call?
When are we in the studio? When do we just go to the studio? I heard you about Stephen A. and Jokic. Listen, here's what's going on right now with Jokic and everybody. There's nothing to talk about with him being the MVP. He's the unequivocal MVP, and people are just having having a hard time understanding the basic rudiments of basketball. Basketball is about winning games, passing, shooting, scoring, defense. And Jokic does that better collectively than anybody on earth. He is the best basketball player. And until they change the rules and basketball looks like the gymnastics version of the All-Star game, Jokic will continue to be the best basketball player on earth. A 3-time MVP, Rachel, he could become the first 4-time MVP. He's that good, and he's not going anywhere. So this whole, quibbling about how good he really is until the Nuggets win, hey, put another chip on our shoulder. What the hell? Nobody cares.
But they have to win.
Listen, man, we already saw what the NBA and the world thinks of the Nuggets with Jokic and Malone being the only two guys there, okay? And Jokic being the only player. It was a tremendous insult. And for LeBron James to have gone to the jerk store and bought an extra helping of jerk to make Jokic the second to last pick, and he probably was going to make him the last pick if Jokic didn't just get up there, I think it's shameful. I think it's embarrassing for the rest of the NBA. I can't wait for the Nuggets to stick it to the world and win an NBA championship this year. It's going to be sweet as sweet. And I got news for you. Look, the way they're set up right now, they're going to be right back after it next year. And I can't wait for that too.
Okay, you heard it here first. Happy birthday to Jamal Murray also. Yes. Oh, we were on the same page. Yes. Happy birthday to Jamal Murray. The question is, will he be playing tonight against the Cavs? He's listed as questionable. Aaron Gordon is listed as out, as is Zeke Naji. So what would you say for tonight's game? Will we see Jamal Murray or no?
I think we will see Jamal Murray. I'm slightly concerned by it, but not overly concerned.
Okay. He did say he was going to play, but...
I'm hoping this is just sort of a procedural thing and he really is okay. I mean, he's been off for 2 weeks. I was led to believe he could have played in their final game before the break against Dallas if we had to. I've been told that if Aaron Gordon, if the playoffs were today, he'd be good to play. I think the injury to Zeke Naji is actually a little bit more serious and probably a little bit more concerning. I'm concerned about Jamal. I'm not worried about Jamal. So I do think he will play. I do.
Okay. Yeah, interesting.
Let me tell you this, too. I am really glad the Nuggets start on the road, okay? Because winning road games is difficult in the NBA, period. So you want to give me a scenario just to pick up a road win? Tonight's the night. You're well-rested. You're in probably pretty good spirits. It's good they all love each other. They really do. And Aaron Gordon talked about his mental health the other day in terms of how he really needs to, check on things. He was very real about it. Missing the All-Star game was tough for him. And he said one of his favorite things is just being around this group of guys because they are so well bonded together. So a nice road trip after the All-Star break. I think it's just what the doctor ordered. They actually have a couple of road games, and then they're back at home. So I love the fact that they could pick up a win against a kind of a tough team in Cleveland and start on the road after the All-Star game. I think it's actually terrific, and I'm looking forward to a great performance from the Nuggets tonight.
No, I'm looking forward to it too. And actually, they have them as the underdogs, believe it or not.
Yeah, because, Rachel, it's that hard to win on the road. That's not crazy. I mean, there's only a few teams in the NBA that have either a 500 or above 500 road record. Just a couple. And, the Nuggets are one of them. I believe they're at 500 on that. So, I mean, but they're ridiculous at home, Rachel. They're 27-4 at home. And I believe there's something like, my math might be screwy here, but there's something like 14-14 on the road. So again, winning road games is difficult. Home teams in the NBA usually are favorites. I understand that. I just think that this is a winnable road game for the Nuggets tonight. So I hope they take advantage of it.
23 more games left in the regular season. It's a fun one, and we will keep you up to date for all of those at denversports.com and here on Coffee Break. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. We had an extra long show today, but there was a lot to get into. Huge thank you to Andrew Mason for joining, DMAC, you as well. I did find out, actually, it was Mace's mic. It just wasn't connected. So it happens sometimes, but we appreciate him hanging out with us anyways. And DMAC, I will see you in a little bit down at the station. And to everybody else, we'll see you 10:30 tomorrow morning for another episode of Coffee Break. Thank you all. Love you all. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye, everyone.